Here's a little homework help for Unit 5, Lesson 15, the volume of a cone. You'll recall from the lesson that we talked about finding the volume of a cone. The volume of a cone, whoops, sorry, let me fix that. The volume of a cone is going to be equal to almost the exact same formula for a cylinder. What we found with that, if we remember that the cylinder is pi times the radius squared times the height, we recognize just a couple components. First off, the area of the base of a cone is a circle, just like we see in a cylinder. The height is still measured from bottom to top, top to bottom. But the one thing that we have to pull in here, the one thing that is different between the cylinder and the cone is 1/3 the volume of the cylinder. So if we take a cone and a cylinder that are the same height and the same radius, the cone would just have 1/3 the volume of that other matching cylinder, or the cylinder that has similar dimensions. And so when we're talking about these, it's important to recognize that here, that in this problem, a cylinder and a cone have similar or have the same height and the same radius. That's kind of nice. So that means that I have a cylinder and a cone where we see that height and radius are equal. The height is 5 centimeters. So this height here is 5 centimeters, and the radius is 2 centimeters. So we need to calculate the volume of the cylinder first. Pay attention to this piece. Answer in terms of pi. Do not include cubic centimeters in your answer. And then when we do pi, use the word pi to represent the symbol. For example, instead of, if our answer was 32 pi, we would write that out as 32 pi. No space, just there. So remember that when we do this, we're going to compare the two volumes. So the first one, we're going to find the volume of the cone. So we'll just simply be working with the volume is equal to, or excuse me, not the cone. The first one we're looking for is the volume of the cylinder for this problem. So we'll be calculating pi times the radius squared times h. And then when we get into part B, we'll be calculating the volume of the cone. And so the only thing that we should have to change is this. When we get to this point, we're supposed to take 1/3 of that volume because we know that the measurements are the same, just the volume is going to be 1/3 different. So if you've done this right, you should be able to take the air or the volume that you found up here in this first one, that was a ready start, and you should be able to just divide it by 3 to get part B. Be very careful. If you're not sure about that, then go ahead and do 1/3 times all those other measurements, the 5 and the 2. In the next one, here's a cone with the volume of 36 times pi cubic units. What is the volume of a cylinder that has the same base area and the same height? Think about that for a minute. How would this cone compare if it was a cylinder of the same base and the same height? Well, we get our peak hits right there to our radius, and the radius right here is the exact same, and obviously the height would be the exact same. I want you to think about that one. I'm not going to give you much of a hint on there, but I will have you remember that the volume of a cylinder is pi times the radius squared times the height, whereas the volume of the cone is going to be equal to 1/3 times pi times the radius squared times the height. Keep those two pieces in mind as you answer this question. Remember that when you type in your answer, you're going to type it in with the word, or we're going to use pi to represent the pi symbol. So do not, sorry, I'm reading this. It says either answer in terms of pi or approximate to the nearest whole number. That means that you better not have any decimals in there or else it's going to be marked wrong. And I'm going to warn you, if you do round it off to the nearest whole number, you're going to have to be really careful that you round correctly, because if you don't round correctly, it's also wrong. I would recommend that you answer just in terms of pi. That way you get an exact value. Okay. This next one, part A, we're looking at a cylinder has a diameter of 6 centimeters and a volume of 36 centimeters squared. Sketch the cylinder. Okay, cool. What you're going to have to do with that is you're going to have to draw it on your own piece of paper, or do this just over here on the side. Get your labels on it, and then you can come in and take a screen capture that's going to take a picture of that and then load it right here into the box. This says if you don't have the ability to upload an image to your work, type drawing as on paper. This is never an option for this class because it's online and you got to show it to me. Part B, you're going to find the radius in centimeters. Remember that they gave us the diameter and the volume, so that should be enough information. We have 2 of the 3. And then you're going to find the height in centimeters for that cylinder. And actually thinking about part B, the radius, we don't even have to think that hard because they gave us the diameter. So when we look at this one, then we can find the height, which they didn't give us, but you have the radius, or you have enough information to find the radius and the volume. So the height would be the one you have to solve for H. And then finally, we're going to label your sketch with the cylinder's height and radius. So you're going to go back and take that same picture that you drew before that had the information that was given, and then you're going to take a different picture and load that picture up that will look different, that has the height and the radius. So just to recap, this first picture has diameter, and volume. Okay, that's what's in that picture. The second picture has all the other information, like it has label your sketch with the cylinder's height and radius. So I want the radius and the height. These need to be 2 separate pictures, and if they are not separate pictures, you just do the same one. You're going to lose points on one of them. I believe that's the last question for the homework. I'm not going to assign these other ones, so you're welcome. Have a great day. Let me know if you need any help.